Hello, friends. Alex, we did it. We made it to the end of 2024. How do I know that? Because it's already 2025 when we're recording this.
Honestly, congrats to us, though.
'Cause,
I
yeah,
have no shame in my own celebration there. Congrats to us.
yeah. Also, I just love the idea that we're like, let's do a recap of the year, but I mean, no one says you got to do it
Well,
in
how
that.
could we do a recap if the year was in progress?
That's a good point.
I'm just saying.
That's a good point. Well, hello, people watching this. If you don't already know us, we're a little taller. My name's Kyle. I'm the founder over here, and I kind of lead the technical strategy side of what we build, we do. And with me is my bestie, Alex.
Hi. I lead a lot more creative and marketing, but been here since the early days, so founding
Okay,
member. Well, I think that's what my LinkedIn officially says.
what does it say? Of
Founding member.
course. I mean, because we started doing this. Wait, we met when we were in college.
We did.
That's right. So I just happened to be there
Friendship
teaching.
fun facts.
Right. So like the strategist we've got after all of our names here, versus the reality of like, yeah, well, we're strategists, but my God, we are builders who are elbows deep in what we do all day long.
So true. It's like a, can I call it a Home Depot strategist, a doer strategist?
Team strategist.
You know?
Yeah, that's a good, yeah, probably a good way to say that. But we've in 2024 things that we were doing was trying to answer the question of like, who are we? Because as an agency who designs and build things, you tend to be a bit wide. You take in a lot of things, right? And so
Also,
that, yes,
the just funny and irony of like midlife crisis, quarter life crisis. It is a good time for a company identity crisis.
every year about October.
Mm-hmm.
Wait, who are we? Why are we doing this? Like, what in the hell? So I think what was super fun this year was to come to this concept of like, well, what are we? I mean, we named ourselves a little taller, and why was that? It's like, well, because we were about growth,
Mm-hmm.
right? And it is about growing, whether that's us or the customers, whoever it is. It's like we're all here for growth. So I thought that was kind of fun this year was to then really go and answer that question of, well, you're an agency, so what? I'm like, why are you an agency? What do you do? And I'm like, well, we enable growth, and we stumbled on the words for a while. But Alex, I think I like that what we came to is to say that we're a growth agency.
I know, I totally agree. And I actually, the more we talk about it, the more passionate I get because it hits every corner in like the rooms that we live. Like it in every area, it is growth enablement.
Yeah, and I think we struggle with that because you're like, well, yeah, but you work with like marketing and business systems and these other things, and you're like, who are we trying to help grow? Well, I think what we've been able to like summarize this year and really kind of use my favorite phrase right now, hang our hat on. I just started like a swear jar, Alex. It's the hang your hat on jar. When I use that stupid phrase, I got to put money in it.
Now, I think every time you use that phrase, you need to go get your hat. Where is your LT hat?
Oh man, I don't know. It's in the tater probably ran off with it. It's probably in the yard. So where does growth happen? Where do we actually wind up living throughout the day and helping with growth? It's people, process, and technology. So as Alex and I get through some screens here and show some great highlights from 2024, things that we've done, what you will hear is the underpinning of all of that is what were we doing, the goals, the outcomes we were seeking, the brag points of what we learned and grew in there. It is most definitely like hinged on this idea of who was working on it, what did they learn, how are they growing, whether that's the customer, one of our team members, what was the processes and things that we learned and how that scaled inside of there, and ultimately how to make the technology that powers up business do more and achieve more.
I think another good way to think of it, people, process, and tech, is that these are things that enable growth. Like these are the pillars that growth stands on.
Yeah, it's kind of meta because you're like, but where are you enabling growth? But then why? Because that enables business growth. So yeah, Alex is really good about reminding me all the time about, but back to the point of this, like if I'm too hung up in like the workout, like I'm training for a marathon. I'm like, I'm all about the process of the training. So you do remember that you were doing this for the time at the actual event, right? Like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. So it's
I
good
mean it lovingly every single time. I hope it comes across that way every time.
every single time.
Good.
It is how.
Which is loving.
Well, starting with people, I think a great spot to start here is for us to throw the love to our team of enablers. We're a growth enablement agency. See how clever we are? Enablers. So, oh boy. Anyways, yeah, yes and is kind of at our core. So clearly, if you're into yes and, you're in enablement. So I think throwing the love to the team that's behind this. I mean, we're a team of, gosh, somewhere almost 30 people on here on the team. Between project manager, us, we're kind of span the gap here. But our project managers, our designers, our developers, and our engineers is a lot of people that we have on the team to get this done, and they've all been here for multiple years. I mean, some of us have been here since the beginning. Sydney, and they've been here since the beginning, and everyone else, like, we're shocked. We're like, wait, they've been here so long and they've grown so much. And I think
it shocks us every time we see anniversaries come up because we're like, what do you mean you've been here for 4 years? Or what do you mean, like, no matter what the anniversary, I think it was someone just recently, their 4 year came up and I was like, how has it been 4 years already? That blows my mind.
Yeah, and we've got generations now because you've got babies born into the family and they're getting older, and that's crazy. You're like, wait, they're two? What?
I know.
But the growth starting with the team has been phenomenal, and specifically because they're also really leading the charge, Alex, on like process and improvements. And some of that's because they got sick of my shit, and they're like, "Can you follow?"
Them advocate for growth and then keep us accountable towards it. Because using one of my favorite phrases, like, we're all on the same team, we all have the same goals, and we're all going after the same vision. So it's been fun to have that tag team in a way, or like that. It is that accountability.
Yeah. And it is giving them that the freedom to do that, telling them of like, you have a blank check to tell us what you need to be successful and to tell us where we're the roadblock. I mean, it starts with kicking us out of the room. Like, that's fantastic. But
yeah,
you're in the way. Let us solve this. That's fantastic.
Well, it's leaning towards strengths, where it's Becca and I don't have the same strengths, but if we divide and conquer across our strengths, then it's a very powerful team. Just like we've seen you and I over the past 7 years or however long it's been. It is such a beneficial divide and conquer because we're able to lean into those strengths, and because we are passionate about so much of what we do, it's easy to like get into the weeds or kind of cross lanes. And I think that accountability of, again, leaning into your strengths has been so beneficial for everybody.
And I think a lot of people that we work with understand the issue of scale, and that you start as a 1 or 2 person shop and you're a pretty flat organization for a while until you start building up teams. I mean, and to think that these are kids that grew with us, and we've got team leads reporting up to people reporting up, like, that's crazy to have a tier, a bit of a tier, not, you want to go too ham on that, but to have that where you have other people then take ownership, as leaders of other people. That's kind of where the flywheel effect starts to take hold.
Yeah. And I feel like I'm not nitpicking words, but like they claim it, like they want that ownership. So it's
yeah, it makes sense. Like, they want that, and they
don't wait for it. They're like, okay, let me go after this.
Let's go get it. But I mean, that's kind of the way here. It's like I've always been a forgiveness over permission, and I'm even sketchy on getting the forgiveness part. Just take ownership and go run with it. It's one of our core values, ownership. It's the first one. It's like we take ownership of everything we do, and they really embody that. And I think it's fun. And if they, when they're shy and not ready to grow on that, and you're prodding them on there, like, that's fun too, to watch them come out of that shell and open up and run with it.
I really do feel like a proud mom some days. I'm just like, oh, look at them go.
They're just fractional kids. Well, proof point moving into the body of work. I think the proof point from internal, like what we were establishing with the team, what we do, how we execute on it, and successfully. I think it's, Alex, and a lot of these are things that you see and that come to you, the quotes of what people are directly saying to you about our team and about the work.
Which is always more exciting to hear someone give praise towards the team, because it is proud. But yeah, some of the things that people have said, it does blow my mind.
Yeah, but also like if someone's like, Kyle, you're great, I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. Like it's like, I mean, we all want a parade at some point, right? But
Well, that's what I mean. Like, it's so much more exciting for someone to hit me up and say, "Hey, working was amazing." Like, they made my project so much better. Like, they've accelerated my company's brand and they've enhanced all of our practices and like that. I do have a client praise folder in my email where I do just keep things that people have said because it is such good reminders. I think of the growth. It's like it's a proof point of growth in a way.
it is, and share the spec down, tag the kids in Slack, get the things going to them. But yeah, I think your point is that as a proud parent, when someone says, oh, I did a good job, I'm like, I appreciate that, thanks, that's nice, but also I just expect that of myself. I'm just working my ass off to not do a poor job, right? And so that I deliver, I'm like, yeah, that was kind of expected, and I expected it myself. So like, this was the outcome that I was expecting. It is so much more rewarding for somebody to say to me that you've done a great job at just hiring people, which let's be honest is dumb luck, but like as much as you try, you get lucky. We've gotten really lucky, and then we put them in a good spot to win. And when it works, it's like, oh my God, that is so much more complex, that scenario. Me doing work for somebody, pretty black and white. Meet with them, get it, do the work, bust my ass no matter what, get it done, great. But to get other people involved and feel to see them be successful and happy and growing and loving it, like it does become tangible and that is the reward. It's like that it's validating that the whole system is doing what it was designed to do about growth and finding emerging talent and giving them opportunity. Yeah, like the emerging talent. I've trot that one out every now and then.
I do, yeah.
Yeah. Tip of the hat to Brandon Clark. All right, well, enough of the words and the stuff. Let's get to some cool projects that we've done. So, Alex, and you were watching. Sorry, we're going to have a little bit of screens, then we'll flip some screens and show you some other work output here. But Alex, talk to us about Email Monkey. What in the world was Email Monkey?
Okay, Email Monkey, I think was one of my top favorite projects of this last year. Like when someone asked me what my favorite project was, Email Monkey was the first one that came to mind because it was with one of am I allowed to say one of my favorite clients? Do we need to edit that out? It was with Gainsight, which I love working with. I just really enjoy their team. And then Email Monkey was this, we needed to create a clear demo experience for the sales team that was within a fake product that highlighted the Gainsight products and a realistic use case, but didn't take away from the Gainsight product and was still very clear what was Gainsight versus what was a fake company. So that was also the big challenge of multiple times throughout the process. It was that looks too real and then that looks too fake. So it's like finding that line of what looks good because visually bad design is, I think anyone can agree is painful, but like how exciting is great design. So there was like, I think finding that line was the big challenge, but then once we have found that line, we were able to keep going and then like write additional courses that go along with it, or even find other opportunities to help customize their own clients or their own customers' experiences. But I can show.
Yeah, please. So this is a demo environment, and that for Gainsight sales team to be showing Gainsight product, in which case we had to build a fake company to load everything into the demo.
Yeah,
Ooh,
so I'm
that's
just
a
gonna
lot,
show,
man.
like one section of it, which is just the community section. So this would be within the so Email Monkey is the fake company, which we mirrored off of. I'm sure we can all put two and two together. But it was really fun to be able to have these like one of Gainsight's pillars is childlike joy. So bringing in a lot of that joy or a lot of that fun elements. It was obviously, can I say fun again? How many times in one sentence? But then also bringing like they have an advocacy program. So like how do we highlight the advocacy program within this context of Email Monkey of like, oh, we'll become a howler monkey. Like scream about what it is, because the howler monkeys those are the monkeys at the zoo that are screaming at you as you walk by in the best way, obviously.
Sure, yeah, nothing negative.
Yeah, so that was really fun, but there was plenty of times where it was okay, this is too fake or too real, so finding that balance was really interesting. We did name this monkey Evan, just for fun. Email Evan, but I recognize this is too, when I get excited about projects, I tend to get too excited and then I get half sentences. Like, was that a clear representation of it, or?
Yeah, that tracks. So actually, we're looking at Figma here. We didn't actually, we're not all that stuff we show today. Some of it's, kind of real sandboxy, a lot of design work because we want to be respectful of clients and their real environments. Not share anything we're not supposed to. But in this case of the Figma, I think it's a process question that I've got for you. Is how much you had to design a lot. So you had to actually design like basically an entire software platform for email.
So glad you said that, because yeah, we ended up designing the brand itself of this company that we made up, and then designed, like, set those brand standards across the board, set up a fake website so that we could implement not implement the real product into this fake instance. And then also there were the apps that go along with that, so that when they're demoing, they can be pulling it up on their desktop app or their mobile app to show. So there was a lot of elements that go into this, and then also the building or the integration of the Gainsight product within it and going through that development. So it was very layered, and this is one of those ongoing projects that as the sales team grows or they get feedback from their customers, we're continuing to build those in here, or like as Gainsight product updates come, we're continuing to make those changes here as well.
Yeah, that winds up being just an incredible amount of screens in Figma, then the build, and then workflow diagrams, and just, there's a lot.
Yeah.
Okay, let me get back to my Zoom here. Apologies. You guys know how it is. All of the screens and all of the things.
I guess I could have been at least a little helpful and kept sharing my screen with the.
Yeah, we got it here. I think. You got me?
Almost. It's still kind of loading.
There we go.
There, yeah, now I do.
Google Slides. What are you gonna do? Yeah, that's and it's funny because as much, this is kind of the fun piece of the business too, is that I knew you guys were working on Email Monkey. I was in on 1 or 2 meetings on some questions and some strategy and stuff, but I'm shocked when I come back and see how big it is and what all you did. And then I have to come to you for, go ahead, educate me on something else around Gainsight because the team has done it. That's part of why I know it's working, when I'm like, oh God, I didn't even know about how deep that went.
That is a fun thing to come back, and because I could write off plenty of projects that I haven't needed support on, like the team and I have been able to do very successfully. So it is fun to come back and be like, okay, here's all the things that we did. And then other times I'm like, wait, I need help on this one piece and I don't speak quite the right language, or like I'm learning this language, but then the backtrack of, okay, but here's everything leading up to it. So it's a fun tag team that we've developed.
Yep. So I think an interesting segue here from Gainsight to AnyRoad is that some of those nice quotes up there about Gainsight and about us and the team were Gainsight and also AnyRoad.
Well, and what's very interesting about AnyRoad is that is a introduction from Gainsight. So working with the team over at Gainsight, some of the Gainsight team ended up moving over to AnyRoad and then took us with them. And like that, my favorite part of the AnyRoad project is how that relationship has continued to grow. So I feel like I'm skipping right to the brag. Let me brag really quick. But that has been my favorite part of it, is the relationship, seeing that grow, and then like getting to go with people as their career grows and changes, and then getting to support that company as that company grows and changes or scales. So like AnyRoad, they had a really masculine and heavy, just visually heavy branding, but so that became the big challenge of how do we bring their brand to like the current market while maintaining their current audience, but also bringing in this newly identified market that they've seen. And then as that has grown and scaled, that started as a rebrand, and then we built the website, used Webflow, which was really fun and fascinating to play around with. Then we've continued to grow with that as like they've built up their memberships programs or just like other pieces of their business.
Yeah. Well, Gainsight's a perfect example of, you started on a couple of small projects, couple of things, then we start helping on web, then we start helping on collateral, and then you work your way up to where you're doing an entire Pulse conference, and then you're doing their entire, and at some point, it's like you're the middle person helping manage all of the marketing and design and all the projects coming through the entire system for every
Yeah.
department inside of there, which is not surprising when the quote is, "We thought you were a full-time employee here."
I
You
was
know,
just gonna say that's my favorite feedback I think I've ever gotten was someone I was on a call with them and they saw my like little tolerate email come up and they said, "Wait, you don't work here?" I said, "No, I'm a vendor. But I've done a lot of work. I know everyone. Going through the, oh no, it's fine. Like I'm not new." And then say, "No, no, no. I know you're not new. I just thought you worked here this whole time."
yeah, and AnyRoad winds up being kind of the same thing, is that, they bring you in and at a pivotal spot in their like maturity of their marketing program, brought you in and basically said, could you just be everything to us here? So can you be our designers, developers,
Yeah.
can what all, I'm sorry, we may have done too much development there. I can't recall, but
We
can
did
you,
no, we did the full site and then we did some other like sub sites for them too, and then we did some sub brands too. But Lauren Summers was the CMO at the time at AnyRoad when we were working together. And she truly is the one that helped me figure out like how do we phrase the in-house support when we're not in-house, because that is something that we do often and we do well. And so honestly, credit to Lauren there for helping me figure out how to phrase the we're your in-house team that you don't have to. How did she phrase it?
we're the in-house team who lives at the outhouse. Is that it?
No, that works.
There's no downside. That sounds accurate.
Good
Well,
enough.
I mean, it's funny because like I back at that too of the work you did. I'm like, my goodness, actually, you were the marketing team who also crossed over to sales and ongoing customer support of things that they needed. I mean, you're building the decks and the brands and the other components for the sales team
Yeah.
who's selling the product.
Yeah. That was fun too, because so often what we'll do is we'll create templates that liberate sales teams, whereas their sales decks were so specific that we got to work with them on each deck kind of continuously. So I can show some of the like branding elements that we did within AnyRoad. I've
Yeah,
got their Milanotes, and this is the whole history, so bear with me. But for their brand identity, we went through the whole process of like, okay, well, who is your current audience? Who is the audience you're looking to attract? Where is the company started and where are they growing? And what are the goals to get us towards different like sketches? So here's some ideas that we kind of were playing around with for the AnyRoad logo. So you can see the full development of it throughout the process. And then I've got where's my, here's our mood board, which was a fun kind of seeing that start to all come together, the different variations.
Yeah, I think it was fun. Just look at that and go, wow, those are two wildly different. They're similar in terms of a little bit, but the color palette, some of the font stuff, you go, well, that actually does feel like two different companies.
Yeah. Okay. I can't find the one that we settled on, but that's okay.
But I mean, I think what's fun here is people, process, and technology, though, is the process of branding. I mean, there's branding agencies, and you can go spend as much money and as much time as you want doing as much research and a million steps super deep if you want. But they're also like, you guys went quick. Like you did quick mood boards to help shape the direction,
Yeah.
to nail down the direction of colors and why, the direction of illustration and why,
Well,
the
even like
why towards a logo. I mean, you get there fast.
yeah, and I mean it was very custom. Like all these illustrations we ended up customizing to fit the brand specifically. Um, but you're right, it was a very quick churn and burn, which I don't love using that phrase for this kind of project because that's not quite accurate. But the iteration cycle where you can see we had multiple mood boards to get us to that final branding that was then rolled out across everything being all their collateral, all their website, all their digital footprint. Um, but yeah, you're right, that iteration cycle was.
Um, yeah, and I like seeing the work product. I like seeing the process that drives to that outcome. I think that's kind of interesting that we're 2 for 2 on showing these. And I know what I've got coming up, and I'm like, I got a lot of charts, graphs, diagrams, and process flows because that stuff is so crucial to this outcome. The outcome, you go, yeah, okay, it's a logo, and you know what I mean? Like, it's live in the wild. You go, yeah, I see that's a good looking website. What do you want?
Well, I think what's interesting too, because with AnyRoad, they were an established brand, established market, established company. But then if you go to the next one, which is Anderson Mobile Grooming, it's another branding project, but totally different because this is a brand new focus, like a new family focused startup. They needed an identity that communicated what it is that they did, but was fit their, we called it the doodle market. So like the demographic that tends to buy doodle dogs, where you laugh, but you know exactly who I'm talking about right away. So creating this brand that was elevated from this cartoony groomer style that we so often see and is so overdone, I feel confident, I feel comfortable saying that we're all tired of seeing, to this like little bit more elevated, still very clear of what it is that we're doing or like what the services are. And then also what's fun is like so family business, that's their dog.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of look at that brand and I go like it's a real dapper dog, and I'm thinking maybe that's where I could I send him over to take care of this,
Yeah.
Because there's that interesting nexus of you're appealing, in this case, you're appealing to the buyer and what they think, but it's what they think for their pet. Yeah, that's.
Well, that's a great topic too, just in general, of designing for the buyer or designing for the audience, the buyer's market.
Yeah. The seller versus that.
Yeah.
So also, I think what's interesting, you got some stuff you should probably show on this one too.
I can.
What I think what we're not showing a lot of today too, which I think is fun, is I think what I like here is a lot of the understanding of who someone is, who they're selling to, and why. Because there's just a shitload of tactics we're going to go as marketers and and use. So yeah, of course we can build your website, your landing pages, your email sequences, and work in HubSpot and build all your stuff out. But that's super tactical to the understanding of like who this is for, who they're selling to.
One thing that we are in the practice of doing it for mood boards, because mood boards get very you've been learning the word meta lately, they get kind of meta or like kind of cloud-like rather than like tangible. So like keeping all that information front and center, which there's a lot of words you don't need to go into, but like what is the point of Anderson grooving, and then how does this style relate to that audience or that market or that business itself? And so a lot of this we end up doing is having like, well, there's additional research obviously, but we keep our bullet points of who is our ideal audience here, and then how does that go into the company itself. So then when we look at the mood boards, it is in alignment with that, even like from color theory down to the illustration styles. And you can see these kind of different concepts that we play around with to get us to that right fit. And then it's fun too. Sometimes you'll see mood boards get combined through iteration of like, okay, love this piece, and let's work with this.
It's Lone Wolf there versus the Rockabilly, but Lone Wolf is a clean version of Rockabilly, stuff that's kind of near and dear to my greasy old car 11 heart. So I could see where you would have plucked a few pieces of that and went flat illustration style, yes, but dapper it up, but it needs to feel vintage, but
So and then what was fun too, Anderson's mobile grooming, that was I think one of the team's favorite projects. Like I cannot tell you how many times Jordana or Abby would hit me up and say, "Oh, I'm so glad we're working on this." I think they thanked me for the project at one time, and I was like, I have never experienced such a comment. Thank you. Like what a good thing. But there were so many different types of collateral, and Lars was really open to any like suggestions or recommendations that we had around what he could be offering within the vans. And then even getting to do that van wrap itself, which we've done a few car wraps, but I mean, they're far and few between. How often do you get to do a full vinyl wrap and then get to see it come to life? Is always, it's design in real life. It's fun.
Yeah, the tangible stuff, because we're very digital, the tangible, that, or when you're doing like the trade show and we actually go out to Pulse, or you wind up and go to the show and you see your booth, you see your stuff in real time, you see your swag, actually being handed out. Like that's pretty dope. I mean, gosh, I've got other people's swag socks sitting on my desk, right? Because people love it. They love the swag and they love to snag that. And part of me is because that's the most interesting way to sit here and go. And again, why do I have Huntresses, a client of ours that we adore? Why do I have their socks here? I picked these up at a different trade show. Like I don't know, this swag comes home with you. It's real. It is fun when you get to do the tangible stuff.
It is. It's feels good
to be real. Alex, how did Anderson Mobile find us?
Another client that we used to work with, that we worked with for many, many years. So his wife, Tori, and I worked together through Allbound. And then when he was ready to start his grooming business, she referred him over to us.
Gosh, man, that's funny. It's like, and then we hear this all the time, like, hey, could you help? You know, and like the scale, like, yeah, we love supporting enterprises. I mean, you know, like it's fun. It's a super structured challenge. But then we also like this sometimes of the other ones where it's like, help a startup, help a family business, just knock some stuff out. You know, and we don't even chase those for, it's not like revenue chasing, you know, not by any means, you know. It's like,
But it's,
no, because we know.
gosh, it's the perfect example of what we were talking about earlier of practicing for game time, where, well, maybe it's not the perfect example of that because it's still game time, but it is the additional, like, how much practice can we get into this? Never mind.
Yeah, but it's process, and we like to practice the process. I think is what it is that a lot of times in B2B technology marketing, you know, it's like we know the brand, we know the stuff. It can be a bit tactical of another landing page, another email, another sequence, and you do have some constraints that you work within. We're designers, we like working within constraints. That's the world we live in as commercial designers, right? Otherwise, we're an artist. There are no constraints. So you work within those constraints, but those constraints get to be, you almost define them once you're getting to play with another brand and build something from ground up, you know, to see, or a redesign, you know, but definitely from ground up, you get to do it from scratch. Sometimes you like the blank canvas.
Yeah.
Okay, well, that's quite a leap from some of the like creative and the brand and what we do, but I think in there you hear that from the outset. It's like brand, brand, execution of that through marketing activities, understanding that the end result of every one of those is to drive to sales. So we spend also a lot of time on the technology on the marketing side, but on the, you know, and on the sales side of this. So things that we do that are kind of fun and interesting, sure, we can build out in HubSpot, sure, we can knock out what you need. But the stuff that we have a lot of fun working on, and I like to highlight from this year, is that really impacts and moves the needle. I mean, there's no more obvious judge of growth in sales numbers, right? Sales numbers and efficiency of delivery. I mean, that's metrics. That's pretty much what it all boils down to. So allow us to skip ahead a little bit, but we do spend an awful lot of time inside of the channel, like partnerships, you know, with suppliers, with their distributors and partners, and the tech that aligns and connects them all. And one of the fun places that we spend a lot of time is around CPQ. So you guys have worked with this. If you got it inside of your CRM, inside of Salesforce or HubSpot, or maybe you've got a third-party platform, you've probably seen how that works with your direct sales team. You know, your marketing, you're driving traffic, salespeople qualify, talk someone through this, and ultimately you're putting together quotes for, you know, customers, and those quotes become orders, and maybe they ship further down the line to other systems into fulfillment. Well, where we get to play with that's super fun is that we take that and we, you know, leverage the existing systems, but we get it out. We get it into your partner portal. We get it onto your main customer website. So there's some cool scale that we got to see this year. We've done lots of these projects over the years, but this year the goal for us was to achieve some level of scale and efficiency of it. You know, was to have, you know, to get to kind of develop some best practices and processes so that we can help our customers who feel a bit overwhelmed by the prospect of taking their highly complex CPQ and getting partners involved in it. I mean, rightfully so. It scares the shit out of people, you know. So
How did that look like? Because it's so easy to look at your own systems, like, oh no, this is so unique and like so custom and so different than what anyone else is doing. Were you able to kind of go through that and be like, okay, well, here is the repeatable process that we've seen, and then here's the nuance that we account for within that process?
yes, so I actually came up with this phrase just yesterday talking with a buddy of mine. I said, well, we all know what snow looks like, and at what point is snow just snowflakes that are unique, and we'll worry about those a little bit later. That, you know, that I think a lot of times people come in with CPQ and they just think of, oh Jesus, all of the unique snowflakes that make up this big pile of snow that's going to be an avalanche. You know, like it's a heck of an analogy, but you can, I think, here the question you're getting to is that there is a process for simplifying that. That the truth is that, you know, strategy, operations, and numbers, if the, in that order, if the strategy is get other people involved, get your partners involved, get your direct customers involved, being able to buy some products and stuff themselves, chances are operationally it's not so bad that because you don't really need them involved in everything under the sun. Your system, you may sell like 5 lines of software in 12 different currencies, and then you have all of these packages, and then you have all of these other bundled things, and then you have discounts, and then you've got partner discounts, and all of that can seem over freaking whelming. But there is, thankfully, what we did see enough of. Let me make sure I'm getting my correct screen share here. Okay, so people, process, and tech. One of the things that we really were big on this year.
Version of this, the Zoom Up version, is so insightful to what you're saying of like, oh, did you feel overwhelmed?
Yeah, I know, right? Because when you're talking, like this is for our client Accruent, this is the workflows, and this was early on before we started even tacking on CPQ. This is their partner sales pipeline, but really this is just this idea of what's happening to a lead being created in Salesforce. And it's just simply this visual flow. It can be overwhelming, but this thing is not overwhelming to us, to the engineers and the people behind the scenes, because you come to me, the customer does, and says, we want to tack CPQ onto this. I'm like, sounds good, because inside of your partner portal version, but you get the point of partners registering a deal, and they're using some CPQ, tacking on some products, getting this out to build out the bill of goods of what they want to purchase. This is this experience we want to keep simple. But the way to keep that simple is to document so that we know at all times what's the flow supposed to be. So when something doesn't quite work later, and you ask that, I'm like, well, let's go look at that. I'm like, oh, well, it turns out that you guys have decided you need to add more stages. Great, then let's account for other stages, make sure that the flow works properly, and go from there. This right now, what we've learned this year, Alex, is all of these, much like if you do product development, if something is going to take you, if you can't estimate it, you need to break it into chunks to estimate. And if those estimates are over a certain amount of time, you need to break it into smaller components. This is at that spot right here where we're like, we need to break this into smaller diagrams. I need a top diagram that basically just says all bound Salesforce, or like a small thing. And then you zoom in, you go, this workflow.
I think us aligning to the visual components here have been so helpful, because it also, like, we can talk about things all the time, but I think for our clients too, until they see it, it is just words. So this has been so helpful in making sure that we are all talking about the same thing, or even using the same language and the same verbiage to make sure that we are truly aligned, not just assuming that we're aligned.
Right, because when you're taking these systems and tying it together, and you're saying, well, this is going to flow from one system to the other based on these triggers of users doing actions and all, yeah, I need to document all of those flows for sure. And then secondarily, since these are systems that are syncing, is log everything under the sun, so that you always have logs, because you will have this scenario where say, this quote came in and this line item was wrong, or missing. Those things are occasionally going to happen. And the best thing that you do is just back it up and you go, where did it start from? Who was the user? What were they trying to do? And you look at the flows, the data mapping, and you go look at the logs, and you see, you're like, yeah, right, that's our little problem. It's a new use case, or it's a caveat, something interesting, something different, a one-off, and account for it. But the growth part of this that I was really also happy with visually this year, Alex, is that it went from in Allbound, your partner portal, which by the way could be any of your partner portals, as opposed to registering a deal and at the same time giving us all the product information. We've started moving towards another model that I'll show a diagram of for another client, which is push this off to the side. Let people sort of basically move quotes to its own more robust object. Set it off to the side here so that users can generate multiple quotes for an opportunity. They can choose which one of those they're actually working on, because sometimes you want to go and show a customer, here's configuration for a 1-year deal, here's a 3-year deal, here's a 5-year deal, or if you're considering an upgrade on this other product, let me just get you that quote, your choice, so you have flexibility on that. And all of this, by the way, is still in sync with Salesforce. And when you feel overwhelmed, because Lance Weeper, God bless him, they were like, oh, our stuff's so complex. They just happened to come in right after we did one that was crazy complex. But we got to this one, I was like, oh, Child, that is easy because on their scenario, it was actually not that many products to be choosing from in terms of categorization to get to a bill of goods with only a couple of tiers of pricing based off of who this user was. So we like this year also being able to take this and get a bit decoupled from the PRM, decoupled from the partner portal, and have it stand alone so that it is now also less risky. It's not dependent on what's happening on portal technology. We can just sort of be closely aligned to your Salesforce workflows, your Salesforce price books, your Salesforce items, and that ultimately the quotes and orders that are generated make their way, to Salesforce and sync back and forth. So it's bi-directional in this scenario, and this gets put together, sent to the system, auto-created, your team, less work on your end, make some approvals. So it's a huge process win, saves a lot of man hours, and then, sign off and bring it on back.
I love that there's a process to help companies with their process.
Yeah, and it's very meta, of course, but that's exactly what it was. Because and that's something you're justifying because companies only want one of two things, and it's all about money. It's like you want to sell more, or you want to lower some overhead, that scale for selling more. So a roadblock to selling more of this is the amount of time that your direct sales team is putting into managing quotes for partners. This, and then Alex, what you've been brought in on some of our customers where we cross over is super fun too, that you'd see is that this starts to move to the front of the website. Marketing teams are saying we want sales and marketing to work together, so we want to get some products up that we could just sell directly to the public. How do we tie that into CPQ? We've already solved the hard part. We already have the whole products and workflows. So great. So we kind of go back to a diagram. I'll flip over to another customer, but we already look at that, that they have talking about this. They're like, well, all bound the HubSpot scenario downstream to Fishbowl. But if they say, but what about our marketing website and how we could, I'm like, great. So we draw a fourth box on here and we go, what products in high level, zoom in and show a more detailed flow of what we have to do. But we've already solved the hard part that people felt like was insurmountable, was my CPQ is too complex. I can't get partners or direct customers involved. Sure you can. Yeah, you can. Yeah, why I'm passionate about that, Alex, I don't even know.
It's fun. We enjoy it.
It is. Not a lot of kids sitting around, like telling their guidance counselor, I want to grow up to be a CPQ consultant.
It truly, this goes into the font thing that I talk about, where it is hard to find people that have the same passions you do. So if you can find someone to talk about workflows with, talk about workflows. The amount of times that I've been at happy hour and been like, oh, let's talk about this typeface, and everyone's like, Alex, please, I beg you, no. Like, find your people.
Yeah, but I think it's problem solving. One of the many things we say about ourselves is we love a challenge, and that's quippy. Lots of people say that when you're applying for jobs and whatnot. But I do. I love it when people say my CPQ is too complex. I'm like, prove it.
It really does. Like, the best way I describe a lot of what we do to people that are not familiar in the tech space is puzzles. And I think when people open the box, they see all these pieces and it is very overwhelming. And we're like, no, we've seen this puzzle before. Like, not a big deal. Here's how we put it together.
My God, we start having an analogy jar and we have to put money in every time we use another analogy, huh?
I leverage them because we are all visual learners. So if I can find a picture that represents for my own cartoon brain, but they're good. They work.
Good point. So, Kaseya, speaking of companies that we do a lot of stuff for, one of the great things that I really, really, really am proud of that we did on Kaseya this year was that, speaking of scale, notice that commonality here, is they've got this amazing program called Troop here, and it's for supporting their MSPs. Kaseya has a lot of products, security company, a lot of security related products. And Kaseya has done a remarkable job at not only just building the product suite for servicing end customers kind of full life cycle around their security, information security needs, and the infrastructure to run their businesses around that. It's probably not doing it full justice, but at any rate, their managed service providers who sell and support those end customers, they are hyper focused on supporting them, remarkably so. And so we get to build a lot of cool things there. But their challenge all along is they want to scale scaling resources, and how do we do that? So we get to help them on the tech side by building out their True Peer Portal program. So their coaching program that they have for their MSPs, where they have their scheduled week, the pods of it's like a business executive forum, or your business executive board of 12 companies working super tight. They've got hundreds going on thousands globally, and those are these tight groups working together to methodically coach each other as they scale their business forward. This is the platform that accomplishes that for them, complete with features galore. But I think that things that I was super proud of on here, and the challenge was basically getting our young team we were showing earlier, getting them to continue to scale up and then stack their team in the growth and the leadership of that, and the processes working together with Kaseya. I mean, we developed out the full product management lifecycle with them, with their team, our team, backlog, sprint planning, scheduled delivery, of just a remarkable number of features, and it's super scalable. It's a startup within a massive enterprise. It's crazy.
That has been a really fun thing to watch the team discover and then grow on, is the process that they've applied here.
So the process, perfect segue, God bless you. This is what's a bit mind-boggling, right? The mind-boggling piece of this is you see how much we have to design out. So whether that is simply a dashboard and how does the dashboard interact, we have to think all of that out. This is like super props to the Kaseya team, Will and Chrissy and and Alex over there, of like them really understanding needs, and then our team, Sid with the Y, good old Sydney and Becca, and then Oscar and Alejandro and Erlen and the whole team over there, but specifically like Becca and Sydney with the Y is thinking this out of what's supposed to be here, how's it supposed to interact, what's it supposed to do. This design work is remarkably comprehensive. So we wind up with, like, even for the admins of this thing, is when they say we have this need for it in this administrative piece, all of this, the calendaring. And by the way, I've built enough calendars in my career that I'm like, oh, yeah. But they were really smart too about how they're doing it with the tech, designing towards the tech that we can enable and turn on using the technologies and some of the options that are out there without having to build every single thing from scratch. A lot's hyper custom, but designing around existing tech, understanding how one thing plays into the other. If we have events, inviting people to events, tracking attendance for attendance reporting to here, back over to HubSpot eventually. Dude, it's a lot. We've grown into it, right? But I think the craziest point of this one too is that we went back and we documented all workflows. We weren't even
made my heart sing, because I just love a good workflow and the visibility it provides to everybody. And I'm so how many things am I allowed to be passionate about? Because I'm passionate about this too. So hearing that the team was going back to go document this so that we had it on record was just a music to my ears.
Yeah, and it's it's comprehensive. It's an insane. And by the way, look at all of these. That's front end and back end across all of these features that we have inside of there. It's a couple years worth of development, but these are now living, breathing organisms that are part of every sprint plan and every workflow. So I meet with the team. We have like a monthly where we talk about the tech and the platform and what we're scaling and moving around, and and working roadmap against that, against delivery and managing technical debt in managing scale. And whether it's that, or even if it's a one-off support ticket, if something wasn't working quite right and it's a bit complex, we go straight to this. I'm like, show me the diagram. What's supposed to be happening? Then we look at the code. Well, what's the code supposed to be doing, plus logs? And man, you can like problem solve and figure out issues so much quicker too. So this right here is absolutely crazy. I mean, like, we're still working through it. We're still getting through some other little components as we go. And like right now we talk about, I've got diagrams of this. That's also the infrastructure. That's the whole infrastructure of the systems all talking to each other. Where do things go? I mean, we pull it up. There's almost no meetings now, Alex, where we're not pulling up some form of diagram.
Good.
Yeah.
That also makes my heart sing.
It's a lot, but we do that internally, Alex. I mean, gosh, today we were sitting in our sales and marketing meeting, and we were sitting in our team meeting, and I was like, you're talking about something we were going to do in our project management system. And I go, hold on, I got to look at a diagram.
I know.
We'll try to go get Mexican food tonight. And I'll be like, wait, I need a diagram. What's our decision tree here?
I'm taking that as a commitment to Mexican food.
Oh, damn it, I know I'd say that and be stuck, but the question is like, has alcohol? Yes, no. Do I have plans tomorrow? Yes, no.
Sure.
Yeah, should I order tequila shots on the way out the door?
Yes. Always. Yes, yes.
Yes, and God damn it. Okay, and lastly here, one of the things that I'm really passionate about our scale on is the apps that we build into and around platforms. You know that, gosh, having built a software company up, having sold enough stuff, I know sell it one time, you know a little bit about it, sell it 6 times, now you know a good bit about it, and you can start to productize, whether that's the sales story, or whether that's the process by which you onboard that project and see that project through, or ultimately whether it's the actual technology that's productized, you do mature your way through that. And that's been real fun for us to do that around PRM, especially on like Allbound, was to see an awful lot of individual apps over time, these little ideas, and then start to move them up into more buckets so that us kind of delivering a tech-enabled service that we can speak to the needs that people have inside of connecting like CRM and PRM and marketing automation and business intelligence systems. Which department is that servicing? What needs do they have? And then how do we solve that? And that's been super fun to take like something random, like a little campaign tool to deliver campaigns and helping people do referral tracking and bundled up into one and go, well, it's the whole campaign of referral tracking all in one. Just do it all together. I think, Alex, the biggest point that made my life easy was that we could, much like your Gainsight demos, is that if I can build out this serviceable demo to just show it to people, oh my God, it's so good. And to that point, and to that point, inside of our demo instance of Allbound, what I really got to log in back in and do. Got to switch users real quick. My apologies. Get to a demo user that's got the proper permissioning.
These are some of my favorite projects too, because it is so clearly connecting sales and marketing, which is always one of those, for whatever reason, those departments don't always love to work together, but they get so much further faster when they do.
Well said. So among the many things that we built in here, I think like, Campaign Center, Account Center. I'll start with Account Center. It's really kind of techie, and it's not. I don't have it super low with a ton of data, but the idea that as a user of this system, this is Salesforce enabled. This is pulling from Salesforce in real time. These are the accounts that this partner has to manage. Has it managed for them. So you don't need them in your CRM, right? You don't really want to have to deal with that in licensing. You just go get all the data and share it through your partner portal to them. So get your partners who are attached to your customers to manage their accounts. See all of the pipeline, whether they're generating in the portal or whether it lives in the other system. Get something like Salesforce cases integrated here. This is exactly what this is. It's the Salesforce cases. But all of this was born out of about 3 or 4 different needs that we heard repeatedly. We just moved up into one thing. People are saying, can you get my Salesforce cases like so my partners can engage with the cases that involve the customers that they're managing? Absolutely. It's here, the cases, the comments, the attachments, all of that is just as if they're working in Salesforce, but they're not. They stay in the portal. They can interact with all the cases inside of there. That could be your partners. It could be your customers in a customer portal, you name it, your distributors, whatever you're looking for. But that we have people say all the time, can you get these resources, licenses, keys, this stuff out of this other system and make it visible here? Yeah, no problem. So love kind of sweeping all that together to say, what was the whole point of all of that? Well, it's to manage manage accounts. It's like to help your partners manage those accounts more thoroughly.
Is this a good use case where it helps your partners manage their accounts, but also provides you visibility as like the end user or the beginning user, whichever phrase you want to put on it, for like how to better support partners or how to accelerate or what's working really well versus what could be improved upon?
Yeah, absolutely. So that's definitely a broader kind of partner portal tracking equation. But I still like in that. I think, yeah, we can in all of our partner portals track engagement, track usage, track what they're doing. It does still point back to, I think, accounts, pipeline, what your goals are. So if it's 2025 and your goals are to scale your revenue by X percent and you want Y% come from the channel, we need to see that in the CRM. And then we need to start put that over here, making it accountable, which partners, which accounts, is is going to be static, what's upsell, and then what's the delta, the gap that we've got to go after. That there's other tools and things that we've built in terms of like planning tools and partner planning and things that come into that. Yeah. But this one is strangely super tactical that people just don't have too. If they don't have partners, don't have a visibility in their accounts and their cases and their pipeline for their customers. Go figure.
I truly cannot imagine how much harder their jobs are without that.
Yeah.
I mean, if you don't have it, you don't know.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, no, this help. Can I please make your life easier?
That's right. So Campaign Center, again, pretty thin demo at the moment, but it was born out of a number of things of people, customers saying, hey, can you just like help me get campaigns together that consist of, a landing page, some email, some social content bundled up for partners. But at the same time, we had this concept coupled with, referral tracking. And where's my referral? Apologies, right inside of here. With referral codes, like how do I get my partners referral codes and show them how to use this to drive traffic to our landing pages, and tie all of this together? And it seems like it's such a, like insurmountable task. It's not. It's pretty straightforward of generating codes for partners and educating them or giving them campaigns to execute on their own that they can download, this whole entire campaign complete with landing pages, emails, and social posts, and or drive traffic to your landing page. And that stuff, along with along with all the admin tools, that's super fun to bundle all of that up and and just set it free. It doesn't have to be, like there's plenty of platforms out there you can search that that build and do these kind of things on, but also you can take a pretty streamlined approach to exactly what your partners need, when do they need it, and deliver it. And lastly, scheming in the new year.
Our own goals.
Our own goals. Alex, so we're scheming into 2025 goals. What are we going to do around people? What's our focus this year?
I think we're very, very well, our overarching focus have been operationalize fun. And what is that? But like, what does that look like? It's something advancing our roles of, like we were talking about earlier, leaning into our strengths and like playing in our lanes and the accountability of that. So I think that falls a lot with advancing these roles and advancing everyone's growth. And then more in terms of advancing growth of like making sure we're carving out time for that with like key mentorship across the team. And then also like individual mentorship for key players too as we continue to scale, but also reminding ourselves of celebrate everything and often. Celebrations are, like you were saying earlier, like no one is going to throw us a parade. So I just am determined to throw it for us sometimes of if there's an opportunity to celebrate, I want to make sure it does get celebrated. So there's a lot of wins and a lot of highs and there's no reason to not acknowledge it.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen our team be super excited about is knowing what like the roles and expectations are, and then clearing up towards the process, wanting to have their hands very much in the process to make their roles and lives easier to achieve the outcomes that they see that they're trying to achieve inside of here is what we want them to do as well. I think I'm most excited about the mentorship because like I only know so much stuff and you guys can only hear from me in a certain way. You need other voices that maybe they're complementary to something I'm saying. Maybe they're completely the opposite. Maybe they speak the way that you need to, and or most definitely they're really in depth on the things that you need that that I don't bring to the table. And I think for the team underneath you is the same thing as like they need other people to help them grow.
100%.
I probably need a therapist, but instead I hired a business coach who's kind of a therapist. So
she's charging for your time either way. So
did start today's meeting with, welcome to therapy.
Yeah, mine started the same way.
So yeah. Well, when the pupils are ready, the teacher will emerge. So there they are. And then on the process side, even internal to us, I think, and actually, hell, this is internal to us. It's like we're trying to make sure to grow our team and grow our processes tech so that we can be the best possible consultants, strategists, designers, and developers for our customers.
I think I'm in total agreement of is like how when we continue to improve our processes, like it only gets better and better for our clients. And it feels like the people and processes going so hand in hand this year specifically, of as people grow within mentorship, the process gets better and our advancements gets better, which helps us improve onboarding and it helps us with organization, it helps us with longer term scheduling. It all rolls together.
It does. And I've seen that. I think one of my super proud moments this year was watching, clients that, bringing a new client on for a new project, one that we've seen 100 times, but it didn't matter, was pulling up the deck at the intro call and the kickoff and say, hi, here's why we're here. Here's what we're doing. Here's the team. Here's the process. Here's the schedule. Here's the assignments. Any questions? Pull up your calendars. Let's schedule this meeting again. And here's what we're doing. And then I'm just like, and watching a client go, sounds good. And I'm like, holy shit, I'm watching this like this young PM just go, all right, listen here, adults.
Well, yeah.
This is what we're doing. Yeah.
Been fun seeing also like the things that we continue to add to those onboarding decks and then the feedback that clients have where every single time we've used them, they've always go, oh gosh, this is so helpful. Like, thank you so much. And even I had a client recently say, hey, in the new year, can we just kick off again and just refresh everyone's mind around what that all hands looks like? And I was like, I would have loved to do nothing more, please. Yeah, let's do that.
So on the tech side, I think our goals this year are, some new partnerships. We've always are looking for that of figuring out how to the tech stack that our customers need and where we can bring the most value. So we've got some partnerships that we're digging into there that we're super excited about. Advancing our own tech, so our own apps and platforms and things that we've done so that it's bigger, better, faster, more for our customers when we're solving those things in the future. And then my kind of personal little love right now that I was late to the game in the past couple of years, but yeah, we made it happen, is getting into the AI. And Alex, I think you guys internally have been using more AI than I've been using, and I've now just started using it, but you guys are using it as well.
Totally agree. And what I often, my like segue for AI a lot of times is how can I leverage this to automate decisions I already know my answer on, or how can I use this to like eliminate decisions purely so that I can be putting my energy towards decisions that matter or client choices. So like that's how I think we've used it a lot so far and how we want to continue using it because it advances process and it makes everything more efficient.
Yeah, I mean the quick wins of telling Notion to write something for you or Grammarly or whatever, the Fathom recording our calls and taking our notes, you having that set up to take notes and dump it into the project management system into the right location and logging some time, like it's just saving us just bullshit time. It's fantastic.
And I like literal time for sure. And it is just brain space.
That's probably the biggest.
That's a better way for me to phrase the eliminate decisions of it's how do I use AI to free my own brain space?
Yeah, because I think that, we're obviously big believers in humans, which is why I kind of eye rolled at AI for the past couple of years and to some degree kind of still do because humans will still always figure it out. But now I'm into the use cases, the right tools at the right time for us. You're right. It's like freeing that up because now we look at 2025 and I think we're talking about this is how do we spend less time in meetings? I mean, every person on the planet, right, is like, can I get out of these meetings and go get work done? So, part of that is, when you have 3 back to back, I don't have enough time to be prepped and also then debrief and log all my stuff. I'm like a doctor bouncing room to room and I never get time to do charts and keep up with what I even talked to that last patient about. So the tech is helping solve for that a lot, and along with other pieces of scheduling and planning tech that we're just stoked about. And then the tech that we're really having fun with too on the engineering side is just how to build stuff faster. No one needs to build a calendar anymore, right? Like I never want to do that again. No one needs to. There's so much platforms and things that we do, training the AI to do these things so that it frees up everyone's brain space because our engineers are brilliant people. What could they be doing if they weren't sitting there building some stupid piece of shit code of like a CSV upload. Man, every engineer built those. Why are like tell AI to build that thing for you and move along.
I have two thoughts on this in general, but one of them being, how often do you and I talk about how much easier life is when we have the right tools when we're working on house projects or yard projects? Why would I not use the same thought process in my work life? Like set myself up in the team with the tools that we need. And I also, and this is like feels kind of cheesy, but I mean it, but it's the third, and these are our goals and like the advancement we're seeing. I'm so excited to review this at the end of the year and then see what has come from. Like I truly look forward to revisiting this slide and being like, and nailed it.
Yeah, because our goals as a company all around this is we want to keep, we want to do the same amount of work. They want the same number of clients. We want the better, better numbers, better delivery, better profitability, like every company wants. And it's not this like, oh, we must, scale 30% this year. No, we actually want to do a better job at what we're doing with the team that we've got for the customers that we've got, the customers we're bringing on. No breakneck scale for that point of breakneck scale.
Yeah.
All righty. Well, thank you, friends. This was fun. Thanks for letting us just kind of ramble on about a number of things from this year, what we learned, and how much fun we had through all of it, and how excited we are for 2025.
I'd say